Are you making this costly mistake? See, the most expensive mistake you'll ever make in your life isn't financial. It's not a failed business deal. It's not a missed opportunity in your career. The real cost comes from ignoring that little voice in your soul, the one that keeps whispering, "You're meant for more." You know that feeling, right? That quiet take when you realize you've been living beneath your potential, going through the motions, waiting for something magical to happen while time just keeps ticking. That's a deep human pain, and I felt it too. That's why I'm talking to you today, because I don't want you to keep making that mistake. We've been trained to think we need permission to shine, that we need someone else to say, "You're ready now." But let me tell you something, nobody's coming to hand you your destiny. You gotta claim it. That's how I had to live. I wasn't born with a golden ticket. I had setbacks. I had rejections. I had moments where the fraudulence feeling crept in, where I felt like maybe I was just pretending to be something I wasn't. But here's the truth. You don't fake your way into greatness. You grow into it by pushing through your discomfort. That's where inspiration is born. And don't let nobody tell you you're being unrealistic. People love to label your dreams as too big, too risky, too crazy. But that's just fear talking through them. Negative influences will try to dim your light because they're scared of what your fire might ignite in others. I had people laugh at my goals. I had people roll their eyes when I talked about personal growth and mindset. But what they didn't understand was this: I wasn't chasing fame. I was chasing purpose. And there's a big difference between the two. So let me ask you, what are you chasing? Is it something that excites your spirit? Or are you settling for something that just pays the bills? Because if your life feels heavy, uninspired, like a routine you didn't choose, then maybe you've fallen into that same costly mistake. You've stopped dreaming. You've stopped taking risks. You've stopped trusting yourself. But here's the thing, you can change that. Right now, you don't need a perfect plan. You need a decision. A decision to rise above fear, a decision to step away from comfort, a decision to stop doubting your worth. You gotta look in the mirror and say, "I'm done playing small." That's how transformation begins. Entrepreneurship is not just about building a business. It's about building a life that reflects who you are. It's about goal setting that aligns with your values, not just your bank account. The most powerful motivational speech you'll ever hear is the one you give yourself every morning. That's where real motivation lives. That's where mindset shifts happen. That's where purpose begins to wake up. Because here's a little psychology fact: your brain doesn't know the difference between fear and excitement. It just responds to energy. So what if you stopped labeling your fear as a warning sign and started seeing it as a signpost pointing to growth? What if the very thing you're scared to do is exactly what you need to do? Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they lack courage. They let fear of embarrassment, failure, or rejection paralyze them. But let me remind you, no legend ever reached greatness without falling flat a few times. It's not the fall that defines you. It's how you rise from it. And listen, I'm not talking from some perfect place. I've stumbled. I've lost focus. I've even questioned everything I was building. But every time I came back to this truth, I am responsible for my life. That's the foundation of everything. You can't build success on excuses. You build it on decisions, discipline, and daily commitment to become the person you say you want to be. Most people don't even realize they're making that costly mistake, not because they're lazy, but because they've been conditioned. Conditioned to play safe, conditioned to stay small, conditioned to believe that comfort equals success. But let me tell you the truth: comfort is the enemy of growth. You can't evolve in a space where you're not challenged. You can't build a legacy in a place that requires no courage. The moment you stop pushing yourself is the moment your dreams begin to die silently. I've seen it happen over and over. People with more talent than me, more education, more resources, they let their potential rot because they didn't believe they were ready. But readiness is a myth. Nobody ever feels completely ready to chase something great. That's why you gotta move before you feel ready. You gotta walk into the unknown with shaky hands and an unshakable heart. That's how greatness is built, not in certainty, but in courage. Let's talk about setbacks, because here's the thing: your journey will not be a straight line. There will be detours, delays, and disappointments. But setbacks aren't failures, they're feedback. Every closed door is redirecting you. Every painful chapter is refining you. I had to learn this the hard way. There were moments when I questioned whether I was cut out for this, whether I could handle the pressure, whether I had what it takes. Every time I got knocked down, I had a choice: stay there or rise wiser. And you have that same choice. See, this ain't just a motivational video. This is a mirror. I'm holding it up so you can see your reflection clearly. Not the version of you that's been dulled by fear or fatigue. I'm talking about the version of you that's hungry, driven, relentless. That version is still alive in you, maybe buried, maybe bruised, but still breathing. And if you keep watching this motivational speech, I promise you that fire will start to burn again. Let me give you something valuable right now, a perspective shift. You've been asking, what if I fail? But here's a better question. What if you succeed? What if your ideas work? What if your voice inspires someone? What if your next bold move becomes the turning point in your entire life? That's not fantasy. That's possibility. And most people miss it because they're so focused on what might go wrong. They never imagine what could go right. Now let's be real, we all carry that fraudulent feeling sometimes. That whisper that says, who do you think you are? But let me ask you, who do they think you are? You've earned your place. You've walked through storms they never saw. You've survived things they never knew. And if you keep dimming your light because you feel like you're not enough, then you're making the same costly mistake again. Let me tell you something powerful about psychology facts. The self-image dictates your behavior more than any external factor. You can't outperform the story you believe about yourself. If you see yourself as average, you lack average. If you see yourself as capable, resilient, worthy, you'll start rising like it's second nature. So change the internal script. Speak like you matter. Move like you belong. Decide that your voice is valid because it is. And don't let negative influences distract you. Some people don't want you to grow because your growth challenges their comfort. They'll mock your ambitions, criticize your efforts, question your motives. That's not a reflection of you, that's a reflection of them. Let them stay small if they choose to, but you've got places to go, lives to touch, dreams to ignite. Let me pause here and give you something practical, because this ain't just about height, it's about tools. Here's one that changed my life. Write down your goals every day. Not once a year, not once a month, every day. Goal setting rewires your brain to focus on purpose instead of problems. It's a daily reminder of who you are becoming. And when you do that consistently, you start to attract the opportunities, people, and energy that match that frequency. Entrepreneurship, motivation, inspiration, they're not buzzwords. They're lifelines. They're the fuel that separates those who drift from those who drive. You want to build something meaningful, then you need a mindset that's not shaken by circumstances. You need a vision that's stronger than your distractions. You need a belief system that's rooted in progress, not perfection. I remember telling Jada Pinkett Smith once, the most powerful thing you can do for your family is become the best version of you. Because when you evolve, everything around you elevates. Your energy changes. Your conversations change. your impact expands. And that ripple effect, that's how you change the world without even trying. And for those of you wondering if it's too late, hear me on this. It is never too late to become what you could have been. I don't care if you're 35 or 75, you still have time to make your life a masterpiece. That's the beauty of personal growth. It's not reserved for the young, it's reserved for the willing. This might just be the best motivational video you've watched in a while, not because of me, but because it's reminding you of you. The essence, the fire, the fight. And if you hold on to this energy, you'll start noticing how your days shift, how your decisions shift, how your life shifts. So keep going. We're just getting started. Let's keep this real because truth has power. You're not stuck because you're incapable. You're stuck because you've been taught to settle. Somewhere along the line, you started believing that struggle is permanent, that dreams are childish, that you should just be grateful for what you have, even if it's not what you want. But that's not gratitude, that's resignation in disguise. You can be thankful and still want more. You can appreciate the now and still stretch for the next level. That's not greed, that's growth. One of the biggest lies we're told is that we need everything figured out before we start. That we need a perfect strategy, a full roadmap, a flawless plan. But let me break this down. For you, clarity comes through movement, not sitting still. You want to find your purpose? Start moving toward what lights you up. You want inspiration? Take action, even if you're unsure. Because action brings clarity. Doubt only grows in stillness. And that's the mistake so many people make, waiting on a sign, waiting on permission, waiting on the right timing, while life keeps slipping through their fingers. And then what happens? They wake up one day realizing they've lived the same year 20 times and called it a life. That's the real tragedy. That's the costly mistake most people don't see until it's too late. And not taking the risk, and not chasing the calling, not building the thing their heart kept whispering about. I'm telling you this from experience. There's a version of me I never would have met if I hadn't stepped out in faith. And I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about faith in yourself. Faith that you're worth the effort, that your dreams deserve protection, that your vision has value. Let me drop something deep on you. If your dream keeps coming back, even after the world told you it's impossible, maybe it's not a dream, then maybe it's a calling. And ignoring that calling, that's one of the most expensive mistakes you could ever make. Because it doesn't just cost you money, it costs you peace, it costs you joy, it costs you. Now let's talk mindset, because that's where the real game is played. Your mindset is the lens through which you see everything: success, failure, relationships, opportunities. And if that lens is clouded by fear, self-doubt, and limiting beliefs, then no amount of talent will save you. You've got to clean that lens every day. That's what personal growth is really about. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about removing the dirt that's hiding who you already are. That's why I say mindset is everything. You don't rise to your dreams, you fall to your habits. And habits come from the way you think, the way you talk to yourself, the way you show up when nobody's watching. This ain't about fake hype. This is about real alignment. When your habits reflect your goals, your success becomes inevitable. You ever notice how people who constantly complain are usually the ones stuck in the same place for years? That's not a coincidence. Complaining is the language of disempowerment, but commitment is the language of progress. You want to change your life? Change your life. Change your language. Replace I can't with I will. Replace I don't know how with I'm figuring it out. That shift, right there, that's the difference between dreamers and doers. And look, I know you've got people in your circle who mean well, but think small. People who say they love you but discourage your ambition. That's why you've got to protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Your energy is your currency. You can't afford to keep spending it on people who drain you. That's not selfish, that's survival. And you don't need everybody to believe in your vision. You just need you. That's what entrepreneurship taught me. That's what setbacks taught me. That's what failure taught me. That the world won't always clap for you. That applause isn't the measure of your value. Impact is. And impact comes when you keep showing up, especially on the days when nobody's watching. And here's another powerful truth. You don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So if you want better results, don't just chase outcomes, upgrade yourself. Upgrade your mindset, your circle, your habits, your self-talk. That's how transformation becomes permanent. You know what's wild? I've met people who had all the qualifications, the degrees, the experience, but still lives small. And I've met people who had no credentials, but they had belief, they had hunger, and they went further than anyone ever expected. That's why this motivational video isn't just about goals. It's about identity, because when you start seeing yourself differently, you start doing things differently. Let me tell you something that most motivational speeches won't say. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to stretch you. It's supposed to test your limits. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable. That's the price of evolution. That's the cost of becoming great. And if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. If you're not scared sometimes, you're not dreaming big enough. So don't make the mistake of mistaking comfort for peace. Real peace comes from alignment, from knowing you're living with intention, not just repetition, from knowing you're rising every day with purpose, not just habit. That's where fulfillment lives. And that's what we're chasing here, not just success, but fulfillment. And not just money, but meaning. And if you're still with me, then you've got something special inside you. You're not like most people. Most people click off when things get real, but you're still here. And that tells me you're ready. Ready to step up, ready to push through, ready to stop making that costly mistake and finally start living like you matter. Let me tell you something that hit me hard one day. Your future is not something you find. It's something you create. You don't stumble into greatness. You don't accidentally become extraordinary. You build it day by day, decision by decision, discipline by discipline. And most people are missing that. That's the costly mistake right there. Waiting for life to hand them purpose, to hand them clarity, to hand them success. But life doesn't give you success. You've got to take it. You've got to stand up every morning and declare, today, I create my future. That's not just motivation, that's strategy. That's how personal growth works. You want to change your outer world. And first, you've got to rebuild your inner world. You've got to audit your beliefs. Reprogram your self-talk. Cut out the mental noise that's been echoing since childhood, the doubts, the comparisons, the fears. You've got to silence the voices that keep saying you're not enough. Because you've always been enough. You've just been too busy trying to prove it instead of living it. Now let's get deeper. You ever wonder why people get stuck in the same cycles year after year? It's because they never challenge their mindset. They change their jobs, they change their relationships, they change their environment, but they never change the thinking that created their old life. That's like rearranging the furniture in a burning house. You want new outcomes, you need new thinking. That's psychology facts. Your thoughts shape your reality before your actions ever do. And let me tell you, fear is the root of most sabotage. Not lack of skill, not lack of opportunity. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of success, fear of not living up to your own potential. And that fear, if you let it becomes your master. It starts deciding what you try, how high you aim, how loud you speak. But fear is a liar. It whispers worst case scenarios while robbing you of best case outcomes. You've got to overcome fear by moving anyway, and not waiting for it to go away, but acting through it. That's what separates the inspired from the inactive. I want to talk to the people who've been doubting themselves lately. The ones feeling like imposters in their own journey. That fraudulence feeling is more common than you think. But don't let it fool you. You're not a fraud for stepping into new territory. You're not an imposter for growing beyond your old self. That feeling doesn't mean you're not good enough, it means you're evolving. It means you're stretching. And that's a sign you're on the right track. Growth always feels unfamiliar at first, but you've got to keep walking anyway. I know people who've buried their potential just to avoid discomfort. They played small so others wouldn't feel insecure. They dimmed their light to fit in with a crowd that never had their vision. That's one of the most heartbreaking mistakes you can make, becoming less just to be liked. But listen, your light isn't a threat, it's a signal to others that greatness is possible. And if you keep hiding it, the world loses something only you could offer. Let's talk about environment. You can't grow roses in toxic soil, and you can't grow into your potential in toxic circles. Some people around cheering because they're secretly hoping you don't outgrow them. But you've got to love yourself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't grow you. That's not ego, that's elevation. Negative influences will camouflage themselves as loyalty, as history, as family. But you've got to ask yourself, is this relationship fueling my purpose or feeding my fears? And for my entrepreneurs out there, you know the grind. You know the long nights, the setbacks, the moments of doubt. But don't let the hustle drown your inspiration. Don't let pressure steal your purpose. Entrepreneurship isn't just about income, it's about impact. You're not just building a business, you're building a legacy. So stay grounded in your why. Revisit your vision daily. Let your goal settings be bigger and just profit. Let them be rooted in transformation for you and for the people you serve. And I need to remind you, progress is not always visible. Sometimes your greatest growth is happening in silence, in the quiet moments where nobody sees you grinding, in the days when the results haven't caught up with your efforts yet. But that doesn't mean it's not working. That's just the process. And if you give up now, you'll never know how close you really were. You don't dig up the seed just because you haven't seen the flower yet. You water it. You protect it. You trust the process. You want to live a fulfilled life, then stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. You don't need their timeline. You don't need their path. You just need your truth. That's what this motivational speech is about, finding the courage to trust your own lane, even if it doesn't look like anyone else's. Your breakthrough might come in your 50s. Your purpose might ignite in your 60s. Your masterpiece might unfold in your 70s. But you've got to stay in the game to see it happen. Let me remind you, you're watching this because something inside you refuses to settle. That part of you that still believes, still hopes, still fights, that's your real self. Don't let the noise of the world drown that voice out, because that voice is your compass. That voice is your calling. That voice is your proof that you were made for more. And if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. Don't make the mistake of putting your dreams on hold one more day. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait for approval. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Let me drop something heavy on you. Success is not a moment. It's not a destination. It's not even a single achievement. Success is a mindset. It's a rhythm. It's a way you walk through life with purpose and responsibility. And the people who keep making the same costly mistake are the ones who think success is some magical point in the future where everything suddenly feels perfect. That's not success, that's fantasy. The real win is when your daily habits start reflecting the future you say you want. And you know what? That takes discipline. Real discipline. Not the kind that's loud and dramatic. I'm talking about quiet, consistent, daily choices. The kind of discipline that says no when everyone else is saying yes. The kind of discipline that shows up when no one's watching. That's the foundation of personal growth. That's the difference between momentum and mediocrity. But here's the thing, most people don't fail because they lack goals. They fail because they never build systems. Goal settings give you direction, but systems create results. You can't just write your goals on a vision board and expect the universe to deliver. You've got to back that vision with structure, routine, and relentless focus. You've got to build a life that supports your success, not one that sabotaged it. And let's talk about sabotage because a lot of it comes from within. You can be talented, driven, smart, and still destroy your own potential because your self-worth doesn't match your ambition. That's one of the deepest psychology facts I ever learned. You'll only rise as high as you believe you deserve. You'll only receive what you're mentally prepared to accept. That's why this isn't just a motivational video. This is a mindset reset. You've got to start seeing yourself as someone worthy of the life you keep dreaming about. And I know it's hard. I know setbacks hit different when you've been trying for so long. I know how heavy it feels when your effort doesn't get recognized. When your wins feel invisible. When your progress feels slow. But let me remind you, every setback is preparation. Every delay is refining you. Every struggle is building something inside you that success will one day require. You're not behind, you're becoming. That's what most people miss. They only chase the outcome, not the evolution. But the goal isn't just to get more, it's to become more. Become more focused, more disciplined, more self-aware. That's true entrepreneurship. That's true leadership. That's what separates the dream chasers from the legacy builders. And let's not ignore this, the world will test you. People will test you. Life will test you. But not to break you, to build you. To see how much you really want it. To check if you're serious about your purpose or just interested when it's convenient. That's why motivation alone won't carry you. You need conviction. You need a reason, and deeper than comfort, deeper than likes, deeper than praise. You need a why that keeps burning even when nothing else makes sense. Let me share something that's been true in my life again and again. When you stop playing small, life starts showing you what it's really made of. Doors you didn't even know existed start opening. People you never imagined start showing up. But none of that happens while you're sitting on the sidelines. You've got to be in the game. You've got to be willing to bet on yourself when nobody else will. And here's something that might challenge you. Some of the people closest to you won't understand this journey. They'll question your changes. They'll mock your vision. Not because they're evil, but because they're limited by their own fears. And if you're not careful, you'll shrink yourself to keep their approval. That's a dangerous place to live in someone else's comfort zone. You weren't built to live in a cage of small expectations. You were built to stretch, to soar, to expand. That's why I say your success doesn't just require action. It requires alignment. You've got to align your beliefs, your environment, your circle, and your identity with the life you're creating. If any one of those areas is out of sync, you'll feel it. That friction, that resistance, that fatigue is not always a lack of effort. Sometimes it's a lack of alignment. And let me be real, growth hurts. There's no sugarcoating that. But you've got to choose your pain, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret, the pain of change or the pain of staying the same. You don't get to live without pain, but you do get to choose which one leads to progress. And when you do start growing, when you finally get momentum, don't fall into the trap of seeking validation from the people who never clapped for your struggle. You don't need their approval to feel worthy. You don't need their recognition to feel valuable. You're not doing this for applause. You're doing this for impact. You're doing this because there's a fire in you that refuses to be silenced. And speaking of fire, some of you have been carrying gifts that you haven't even opened yet. Talents you haven't tapped into, ideas you keep pushing aside. That's the costly mistake. We're trying to avoid living a life full of potential that never became reality. A life where fear won the fight. But not you. Not this time. Not anymore. You're not too old. You're not too late. You're not too broken. You're not too lost. You're right on time. You're right where you need to be to rise. To reclaim your identity. You've just got to decide that your future matters more than your past. That your vision deserves action, not excuses. That's what this motivational speech is here to remind you. That everything you want is still possible, but it starts with the decision to believe again. Believe in your capacity. Believe in your worth. Believe in your ability to rise, no matter how many times you've fallen. Let me be clear, if you don't control your narrative, someone else will. And they'll write a version of your life where you're just surviving instead of thriving. That's one of the most painful psychology facts I've learned in this journey. When you give away the pen, you give away your power. But you can take it back right now. Rewrite your story. Rebuild your self-image. Because if you keep seeing yourself as average, you'll keep settling for average. And that's the costly mistake too. Many people keep repeating, letting their past define their identity instead of letting their vision and define their future. You ever look around and feel like you're living a script someone else handed you? That's not living, that's existing. And life is too precious, too short, too powerful to waste playing roles you didn't choose. This is your script, your legacy. And I don't care how many scenes you've messed up, it's never too late to flip the storyline. You can still create the plot twist that changes everything. But you've got to start acting like the main character in your own life, not the background extra. Let's talk real. You're going to have days when nothing feels like it's working, when your plans fall apart, when your energy dips, when your confidence wavers. That doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're human. But here's where most people mess up. They let one bad day become a bad week, a bad month, a bad life. Don't make that mistake. Don't give one moment the power to define your momentum. Every day is a fresh page, a new decision, a new opportunity to rise again. And rising doesn't always look pretty. Sometimes it looks like tears, like loneliness, like quiet work when no one's watching. But that's the raw side of growth. That's the side nobody posts online. That's the side where legends are made in the dark, not on the stage. This isn't just another motivational video. This is a call to resilience, to self-trust, to personal power. Because the truth is, nobody's coming to rescue you. You've got to rescue yourself. You've got to be your own hero. And listen, I get it, we all carry scars. We all carry mistakes, regrets, wounds from old battles. But those scars aren't shame, they're proof that you fought, that you survived, that you didn't quit when life got loud. Don't hide your scars. Wear them as armor. They're not weakness, they're wisdom. That's inspiration. That's living proof that you've been through something real and you're still standing. Let me talk to the people who feel stuck, who feel like they've missed their window, like life passed them by while they were busy trying to please everybody else. That's a lie. Your time hasn't passed. Your mindset just needs to catch up with your potential. There's still room. There's still space. There's still purpose. You've just got to stop watering dead plants. Stop feeding old identities. Stop making room for negative influences that drain your energy and distract your vision. I've seen people delay their greatness for decades just because they didn't feel ready. But let me tell you something, I learned it the hard way. You don't get ready by waiting. You get ready by moving, by starting, by showing up before the confidence arrives. That's how confidence is built, through action, not hesitation. You don't need all the answers to begin, you just need enough courage to take the first step. That's how journeys begin. That's how destinies unfold. You want to talk about entrepreneurship? Let's get real about it. It's not about shiny logos and social media quotes. It's about grit. It's about vision when you've got no funding. It's about faith when nobody believes in you yet. It's about showing up for a dream only you can see. That's where the real power is. Entrepreneurship is a daily battle against fear, doubt, and burnout, but it's also the most rewarding kind of freedom you'll ever taste. You're not just building a brand. You're building you. And for those chasing goals, remember, goals aren't just checklists. They're blueprints for your evolution. The goal isn't to reach the goal. The goal is to become the kind of person who can, the kind of person who's mentally unshakable, spiritually grounded, emotionally resilient. That's what success really means, becoming the fullest, most fearless version of yourself. I want to remind you, setbacks don't cancel destiny. Hey, refine it. That rejection you took personally, that closed door, that painful detour, it didn't stop your future, it shaped it. It prepared you in ways you couldn't understand in the moment. Sometimes the universe removes what you thought you needed so you can make room for what you were really meant to carry. That's not failure. That's alignment. But don't just take this speech as inspiration. Take it as activation. A call to stop waiting for permission. A challenge to take ownership of your life. If you keep postponing your purpose, you'll wake up one day realizing you lived on autopilot. Don't let that be your story. Don't let fear write your legacy. Don't let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. You're stronger than you think, smarter than you realize, more capable than you've been told. And it's time to walk like it, talk like it, love like it. You've got a fire that's been dimmed by doubt for far too long. Let this be the moment you light it again. Let this be the day you rise. Let me ask you something. When did you stop believing in your power? When did you start settling for less than what you know you're capable of? Somewhere along the way, many of us start shrinking. Not because we don't have dreams, not because we don't have fire, but because we've been conditioned to believe that being small is safer, that being silent is wiser, that being average is acceptable. But let me tell you, that mindset is a trap. And it's one of the most costly mistakes a person can make. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to break through. And you're not here just to go through the motions of life. You're here to move mountains, to inspire change, to leave fingerprints on this world that can't be erased. But you cannot do any of that if you keep living beneath your potential just to make other people comfortable. And sometimes the most dangerous place to be is not rock bottom. It's stuck in a life that looks fine on the outside, but feels hollow on the inside. That's the place where dreams slowly die, where ambition fades into routine, where that fire inside you starts to flicker out because you're too afraid to disrupt the system that's keeping you average. That's the mistake, letting comfort kill your calling. Look, I get it. You've got responsibilities. You've got people depending on you. You've got bills, obligations, pressure. But don't confuse pressure with purpose. Pressure can push you to survive. But purpose is what pulls you towards something greater. And you deserve more than just survival. You deserve fulfillment, alignment, and impact. And that's where mindset comes in. The most important shift you'll ever make isn't external, it's internal. When you shift your mindset, everything changes. The energy change, your confidence grows, your relationships evolve. That's why you've got to protect your mind like it's sacred ground, because it is. And if you keep letting negative influences live rent-free in your head, you're building a future on someone else's limitations. So stop letting doubt run the show. Stop letting fear narrate your story. Stop letting that fraudulent feeling convince you that you're not worthy. That inner voice that keeps whispering, "You're not enough." That's not your truth, that's your truth, that's your trauma. That's not your spirit, that's your scars. And scars may shape us, but they don't define us. Let me tell you what will define you: your consistency, your resilience, your willingness to keep going when the excitement fades. Because motivation is just the spark, it's discipline and devotion that keep the flame alive. And that's what this motivational speech is here to remind you. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to be present. Show up anyway. Do the work anyway. Fight for your dream anyway. And I want to get personal with you. I've made mistakes. I've failed. I've doubted myself. I've had to rebuild my life from scratch more than once. But every time I came back stronger, not because I'm special, but because I refused to stay stuck. I refused to let fear win. I refused to let one chapter define the whole book. And that's what I want for you. I want you to stop being loyal to your old limitations. I want you to stop rehearsing your pain and start practicing your power. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your growth. You don't need permission to change. You just need to decide that your life matters enough to fight for. And when you really fight for your personal growth, the universe responds. New doors open, the people enter, new strength rises. That's not just motivational fluff, that's a pattern I've seen again and again. When your energy rises, your environment rises with it. But it always starts within. It always starts with you. You've got to stop negotiating with procrastination. Stop having conversations with fear. Stop entertaining self-doubt like it's a friend. That's not inspiration, that's sabotage. You've got too much to do, too many lives to touch, too much legacy to build. You weren't created to settle. You were created to shine. And some of y'all need to hear this. Stop comparing your progress to someone else's highlight reel. That's another costly mistake. Social media is a stage, not the full story. What you see isn't the whole picture. You don't see the nights they cried, the battles they fought, the doubts they still wrestle with. So run your own race, define your own pace. And don't let someone else's lane make you forget the value of your own. You want the best motivational video in your life? Go look in the mirror. That reflection staring back at you, that's your competitor. That's your responsibility. That's your power. And if you want to rise, it starts with you deciding to get out of your own way. This is not just about motivation. This is about transformation. It's about breaking generational patterns, shattering old beliefs, becoming the version of yourself that your younger self dreamed about and your future self will thank you for. This is about stepping into the arena and refusing to leave until you've created something that echoes beyond your lifetime. Because at the end of it all, you won't be remembered for how comfortable you'll be remembered for how courageous you were, how boldly you lived, how deeply you loved, how relentlessly you chased what mattered. So don't die with your song still inside you. Don't leave this earth with your gifts still unopened. This isn't just a motivational video. This is a wake-up call. A reminder that you still got time. You still got fire. It still got fight. The only question is, will you rise? Or will you keep repeating the same costly mistake? If you've made it this far, then let me tell you something, there's a reason. Something inside you knows that your life is bigger than your current circumstances. Something in your spirit is whispering, keep going. That whisper, that quiet voice, that's your truth. That's the voice of who you really are underneath the layers of fear, failure, doubt, and disappointment. And I promise you, if you keep listening to that voice, it will take you exactly where you're supposed to go. But the costly mistake is that most people stop listening. They drown it out with noise, with distractions, with the opinions of others. They trade their inner compass for the approval of the crowd. And in doing so, they lose direction, they drift, they settle into lives that look okay but feel empty. They stop chasing what sets their soul on fire, because chasing means discomfort. It means risk. It means change. But you have to ask yourself what's more painful, the discomfort of growth or the regret of never becoming who you were meant to be. Let me say this again, growth will cost you comfort. Success will cost you safety. Fulfillment will cost you familiarity. But that's a price worth paying, because what you gain in return is purpose, clarity, legacy. And the truth is, if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes the sacrifice. That's not just a clever quote, that's real life. That's entrepreneurship. That's personal growth. That's motivation lived out, not just spoken. And here's something psychology facts will tell you: human beings are wired to resist change. Your brain wants to protect you from discomfort, and your soul wants expansion. That's the tension. That's the battle happening inside you. So if you've ever wondered why your goal settings fall flat, why your dreams feel so far away, it's not because you're not capable. It's because you're still wrestling with the part of you that's afraid of becoming powerful. It's the fraudulent feeling, that inner voice that says, who do you think you are to dream that big? Who do you think you are to break that cycle? Let me tell you, you are exactly who you need to be. You are the one who changes the story. You are the one who turns the pain into purpose. You are the one who defies the odds. Not because it's easy, but because you decided. You chose to believe in something higher than fear. That's what makes you powerful. That's what makes you unstoppable. And you don't need anyone to validate that power. Not your parents, not your friends, not your boss, and your followers. Your power doesn't come from applause. It comes from alignment. When you're aligned with your purpose, when your spirit and your actions are in harmony, you become magnetic. People feel your energy before you even speak. That's the kind of influence that changes lives, not because you're trying to impress people, but because you're living your truth. And let me speak directly to those who feel like they're starting late in life. You're not late. You're right on time. Every setback, every detour, every failure, it all brought you here. And nothing is wasted. And not a single tear, not a single lesson. Every part of your journey has prepared you for this next level. So don't let age fool you. Don't let your past hold you hostage. You've still got a story to write, a difference to make, a legacy to build. And the time to start is now. You've been carrying everyone else's expectations for too long. You've been playing it safe to avoid criticism, to keep peace, to protect egos. But what about protecting your dream? What about honoring your calling? What about being loyal to the vision planted in you? That's not selfish, that's sacred. Your dream is not a burden. It's your blueprint. It's the map to your most authentic life. And I need you to understand this. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need to have it all figured out to make a difference. You just need to be real. People aren't inspired by perfection. They're inspired by passion, by purpose, by people who keep showing up even when it's hard. That's what this motivational video is about, showing up for yourself. Over and over again, because when you show up for yourself, you give others permission to do the same. You become a living message, a walking testimony, a spark that ignites something in everyone you meet. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real purpose of all of this, not just to succeed for yourself, but to become the kind of person who reminds others that they can too. So let this be your moment. Let this be your decision point. The day you draw the line and say, no more playing small. No more self-doubt. No more waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is a myth. The real moment is now, right here, right where you are, with the resources you have, with the courage you've built, with the fire that's been waiting patiently for you to strike the match. This is your invitation, not just to dream, but to act. Not just to want, but to build. Not just to listen, but to move. Because if you don't, you risk waking up years from now asking the same painful question. Are you making this costly mistake? Let the answer be no. Let the answer be not anymore. Let the answer be, this is the day I choose me. This is the day I choose greatness. This is the day I stop letting fear win. And if this message resonated with you, if it stirred something inside you, then don't just keep it to yourself, live it. Breathe it into every part of your life. This is what motivation is made for. This is what personal growth is about. We are Wisdom Recorder, your knowledge source. If you felt the power in this motivational speech, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs it today. Let's keep rising together, because your legacy starts now.